Hi, welcome back to another episode to the Galaxy Pod, hosted by yours truly. Today we have a special guest joining us, Patrick. He's a Warriors fan just like me. He got his own podcast and things going on, and I will leave a link to his channel and his Twitter in the description. And as well as, you know, he's a Warriors fan, like I mentioned, got his own podcast, and he got great knowledge of the game. So, with that being said, welcome to the show, Pat.
Hey, thank you, Sloan. Appreciate it. Looking forward to talking Warriors, man.
Yes, sir. Today we will be previewing the upcoming season, checking in, breaking down training camp as well as with the preseason games. So, with that being said, our first 5 games we play the Suns, Kings, the Rockets, Pelicans, and the Kings. At best, I say we can go 4-1. At worst, some along the lines of 3-2. I can see the Suns and maybe the Kings potentially beating us. But out of those other teams, I don't just see them beating us. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, at best we go 5-0, right? But I'd be happy.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with 4-1. 3-2 is the minimum at this point. Like, you don't want to take too many L's early on, even with the
set the
built-in
tone.
excuse that Draymond's out. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a long season, and the most important things for these guys, especially the old heads, to be healthy by the playoffs. To be honest.
Yeah, right. And you want to set the tone early. You don't want to play catch up. You want to set the tone early. So yeah, moving
Yeah.
on with training camp. So far, this today is Friday. This would be day 5 of training camp. Thus far, I love what I've been hearing from the vets. Everybody seems to be locked in on one goal, and that's the win. It's the highest level. I love what I've been hearing from Chris Paul. He said he all about winning. So in saying that, he shouldn't have no problem coming off the bench, and whatever's asked of him to do, he should be willing to do it. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on what the vets have been saying thus far this week?
Oh, it's great. To be honest, it's kind of it was kind of a boring media day, kind of slow compared to the past couple years. But in a lot of ways, that's a really good thing because there's no distractions, there's no BS, there's nothing like that. So I feel like, especially with these older vets, that they've been through double-digit years of these media days. They know what they need to do. They know all the right things to say. Chris Paul's had 2 to 3 months of PR marketing team, his agent, whomever, telling him what he should say when he gets asked that first question about coming off the bench. And he had a great answer. But, to me, it's really just about having the veterans. And that's the whole point, that they know what to do. There's no distractions, and they just get down to business and try to win games. That's it. So that's cool. No one's been punched in the face yet, but it's still week 1, so we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, it's on the week 1, and Rodney McGruder, he got signed to a training camp deal, and he had some problems with Clay and Dre 3 years ago, so you never know, man. Yeah,
Yeah. That was kind of a surprising signing, because I was like, we have Corey Joseph, who I guess is more of a point guard, then Roddy McGruder is more of a 2 guard. I'm not looking forward to seeing those guys on the court at the same time, to be honest. That's when I take a bathroom break, But he'll definitely fall in lockstep with these guys. That stuff is just trash talk a couple years ago, but it is funny because it lives on social media and the internet. Rodney, Rodney.
yeah, tough guy Rodney, man, Rodney McGruder. Yeah, but speaking of Rodney, so we also signed Rudy Gay to like a training camp deal. So between Rudy Gay and Rodney, who you think has the advantage of getting that 14 roster spot?
I'll put on Rudy Gay, especially with Draymond being hurt for a little bit. And Rudy Gay came into the league as a small forward, but obviously he's evolved and the game's evolved so that he's a 6'8", heavier, thicker, older, potential power forward backup. And with Draymond out, I think just having that extra guy in that spot. And like I said, if Corey Joseph is there just to play backup guard minutes at either 1 or 2, third string guard, then I think I think Rudy Gay has the edge. And then also, if you need more shooting, Lester Quinones is somebody that Warriors fans really like. I like as well. So I think Rudy Gay. I would prefer to see him, even though he's much older, uh, just for the sake of it, you know.
Yeah. I definitely feel like it's a rooted spot to lose, in my opinion. These interviews he has been doing thus far, I love his mindset and his approach to the game. He can be one of those guys who can contribute when called upon. He isn't looking for a ton of minutes or things like that, but he can definitely contribute at a high level for us, in my opinion. He about 6'8", 250. So he got some size and, he got long arms. Use that length, so he can kind of give me Otto Porter vibes in a sense, but not all the way, if you know what I mean. So yeah,
Right, yeah.
um, yeah, and this was pretty quick. So lastly, the preseason game tomorrow against the Lakers. Steve Kerr came out early this week. The starting lineup gonna be CP, Steph, Clay, Wiggs, and Loon. Obviously, Draymond out with an ankle injury. He said he been healing up pretty fast. So uh, LeBron would not play in this preseason game. So, what are your thoughts on this lineup and how you can view this lineup as a potential lineup when Draymond come back? If Steve Kerr view him as coming off the bench.
It's preseason, so we always want to win, but it's really just about tinkering, and they have 5 games to do it. And I think the first thing I'm honestly looking for is Clay at power forward, getting some power forward minutes throughout the game, which Steve Kerr has talked about. More power to him. I think it's a situational thing because you don't want him against the real big, thick power forwards because he's going to get, they're going to test that Achilles and ACL a little bit. But just, seeing how the Warriors – whether it's Clay or anyone else on the roster, how they deal with the Lakers' size, because that's the thing, right? People have been clamoring for more size. Draymond talked about it a little bit on media day. There was the flirtation with Dwight Howard. So I'm curious to see how they combat that and if the Lakers are able to overrun the Warriors a bit and if Steve Kerr can come up with some ideas. I'm really looking forward to also one thing that I've said before is that, way back in the 2020 draft when, it was a question of the Warriors, who would they draft if they could get a shot at Anthony Edwards, Wiseman, or LaMelo Ball. I wasn't a big LaMelo Ball dude just because I didn't think he would fit the vibe. But there was a part of me that imagined Clay and Steph in their latter years running off ball, doing their thing, with a really pure passing point guard, able to just set them up and find them, put the ball right in their shooting pockets, perfect timing, all that stuff. And, Chris Paul is obviously the best point guard that these guys have played with. And who knows how often we'll see them, the three of them on the court at the same time. But just that in and of itself, seeing his kind of basketball genius, I want to see how he blends in with the team. And also because he's such a veteran, because he has such a great basketball mind, how much quicker he's able to, get the team acclimated to his presence. So that's the thing, right? Like last season was such a rough season for us fans that you didn't want to see. You knew they couldn't run it back exactly with the same dudes, and you just want to see, throw in this dude with this guy, and then see what happens. And that's where the intrigue is for me, like how they make it work. And in terms of Draymond coming off the bench, I don't necessarily think he will ultimately come off the bench. I think they need him out there with Steph because they play so well together. And it's one of those things. It's going to be fluid. I think ultimately Chris Paul is going to be coming off the bench, but the season is not played in a vacuum, man. Like I worry about the health of these dudes. I look at someone like Draymond, and that's the first one to fall, right? He landed on Kuminga's foot and twisted his ankle, and he says he's a fast healer. It's like, sure, okay, great. He's kind of a fast healer, I suppose, but he's also in his mid-30s, and you want to give him enough time to heal, right? Because we know
Right.
that ankles linger. We know we've seen that from Steph, right? Once you sprain your ankle once, it's way more easier to sprain it again. And so you want to give him enough time to heal because he doesn't have an off season to heal from this. He's jumping right into the heart of the regular season, so he has months and months and months
Yeah.
to battle. But this is a chance for Kuminga. I've been a huge fan of that guy since he got drafted, since before he got drafted, right? And I said after he got drafted, that dude's going to be the best player on the Warriors in 4 years. May or may not be true. Maybe I think top 2, top 3, potentially how these guys age out.
Yeah.
And if Kerr gives him a chance, but I think if he can prove himself trustworthy to Steve Kerr, he's trustworthy enough to me, but to Steve Kerr, then that will be huge because then you can rest Draymond more during the season.
All right. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Great points, man. Great points. To piggyback off what you said about the age, that's an important factor because these guys, they ain't getting no younger. Steph, Clay, Dre, they're in their mid-30s. CP3 almost 40. So, one thing about Chris Paul is that it's always been his health, especially when it's close to postseason. He never really, he always had injury problems and things like that. I'm hoping that that's not the case with us this season. I'm hoping he can, we can load manage him, have him healthy enough to make a run at a championship. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And for Kuminga, heck yeah, he could be like the best player on this team. It's just all about opportunity. Steve Kerr got to give him the right minutes, put him in the best position to succeed, the right lineups and things like that. But he definitely can be that for sure. And also, as far as Clay at the power forward position, I feel like to a certain degree he can hold his own. It just really depends on certain matchups. Like you mentioned with the Lakers, if they go big, then I don't think that's a great idea. But if they go small, with I don't know, like LeBron at the 4, 80 at the 5, then sure, yeah, I'm sure he can hold his own. Because at the end of the day, you want to have Wiggins on the perimeter, being our point of attack. So, yeah, you want to have Clay. If he dedicated to rebound, that's the main thing. You go small, you got to rebound. So, as long as he can do that, I feel like we can make this thing work for sure.
Yeah, and that's something, right? Rebounding, like if you talk about Kuminga, that was the thing that everybody picked on him for. Steve Kerr talked about, and he does need to show a better commitment to rebounding because that's what they need from his spot. I remember games where he would get like 8 rebounds, right? And it's all just about like being smart and being aggressive for it, right? Steph averages sometimes like 6 rebounds, 5, 6 rebounds a game. That's because he's so smart and the positioning of it. Clay doesn't get many rebounds because he takes off. He's supposed to take off down the court a little bit further, and he's always guarding on the perimeter, But Kuminga, he has to be able to do that. And then everything else about Kuminga, it's like, when Gary Payton was still hurt after the trade, when Andrew Wiggins was out with his family issues, Kuminga was playing. He was getting 25 minutes a game, and he looked good. He averaged what, like his I believe his 3-point percentage was like 37%. And even though the Lakers laid off him, other teams laid off him, that's where he has to continue to be consistent and start punishing those teams. Because I think late in the season, it's like when they laid off him, he wasn't able to punish them enough because maybe he wasn't getting the playing time. Maybe it shook him a little bit, but this is where he has to build that. And like you said, he needs the opportunity. Steve Kerr needs to play him, and hopefully early in the season, he will get that shot. The more you win, the more Steve Kerr will be willing to play some of the younger dudes, specifically Kuminga and Moody.
Yeah, for sure. And also another thing, with JK, with the rebounding standpoint, if Steve Kerr and the coaching staff just see him, putting effort to get like a tested rebound, just fighting on the glass, I'm pretty sure that's something they'll love to see. And also with Steve, he has to be willing to play to JK's strengths. In my opinion, he's the ideal lob threat for CP. So, can we run a lot of pick and roll with those two and see how that go? We didn't necessarily do that a lot. It was more so just, dribble handoffs, motion style offense, things like that. But yeah, we got to play the JK strength as well for sure. And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he'll look good with CP, and a lot of people have talked about that, right? Even Draymond's talked about that, and I think just a different look, and also just about Chris Paul. It's like last season, right? Even Steph said this last season. Jordan Poole was so good at emulating Steph and Clay, playing both spots, that when he was in there with the second unit, the other team's defense, they could just play the same defense because it was the same look. They were running the same offense. And, if you
yeah,
think about
right.
the past years you had, David West, Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala, like dudes who didn't necessarily run the offense the exact same way. So they would have to, other teams would have to guard that. At least with Chris Paul, it's a different look potentially if you just let him cook. And, it's going to be more his pick and roll style offense. And that is going to force other teams to at least spend some energy guarding something else, looking at something else, thinking something else. And so you can find those gaps, those seams, those mistakes that the Warriors throughout the dynasty have been so good at taking advantage of when the other team hesitates just for like a split second,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we had David West and Sean Livingston, especially Sean Livingston, he was a 6'7" point guard. You just throw it to him down in the post, allow him to operate in the mid range. The same thing with David West. It was a different look, like you mentioned. And we go put CP with the second unit. We should definitely see more pick and roll with JK and pick and pop with Dario and things like that. And just see how it goes, just to get a defense a different look. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I appreciate you for coming on the show. A little mini episode. I will leave a link to his channel in the description. Make sure y'all go check him out. And yeah, appreciate you for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. No, thank you. We'll do it again sometime, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna definitely link up. And that's it. We out. Peace.